Welcome to this explainer. Today we're looking at something literally mind-bending. We're going to be diving into the chilling, heavily documented accounts of people who went to sleep in their very own beds, only to seemingly wake up in a completely parallel universe.
So, can we travel to another universe while we sleep? I know, it sounds like pure science fiction, doesn't it? But to actually understand why serious researchers and everyday people are asking this question, we really need to look at a perfectly ordinary woman who experienced the unthinkable.
Section 1. In an unknown world.
It all starts with a 41-year-old woman in Madrid named Lerina García. On July 16, 2008, she went to sleep exactly as she had for years. No accident, no strange occurrences, just a totally normal night. But when she woke up, her ordinary morning started systematically stripping away everything she knew. First, she immediately notices her bed sheets are blue, which is weird because she distinctly remembers putting beige ones on the bed the night before. She kind of brushes it off, gets ready, and heads out. But then, her car is completely missing from its usual parking spot. When she clicks her remote, it chimes from a totally different, unused corner of the garage. She finally gets to her office building of 20 years, and she's greeted by unrecognizable coworkers who somehow know her by name. And the absolute climax of this horrifying morning, she gets to her own office door only to find the wrong name on the plaque.
Section 2. Some mysterious events of the past.
Now, before we get any deeper into Lerina's nightmare, you gotta know that historical records show she actually isn't the first person to experience this kind of reality glitch. These rapid-fire cases show a really disturbing pattern. Back in 1901, two tourists walking through the gardens of Versailles suddenly entered this eerie, completely silent world. People were wearing 1700s clothing, the atmosphere just shifted entirely, right up until a flash of light snapped them back. Or take Pedro in Spain in 1986. He drove into this strange purple smoke and suddenly found himself surrounded by altered maps and totally unknown radio stations. And in 2006 in America, a woman named Carol drove to her hometown only to find her grandmother's house and the local cemetery completely replaced by this empty, silent, almost glitchy replica of the town she knew. These cases set a seriously chilling precedent for what went down in Madrid.
Section 3. The terrifying story of Lerina García.
Okay, let's jump back to 2008 and see how Lerina's situation builds from a disorienting morning into basically an inescapable psychological trap. Seeking some kind of comfort that day, Lerina tried to call her incredibly supportive boyfriend Augustin, the guy who had actually helped her escape her previous abusive relationship. But his number belonged to a total stranger. There was zero footprint of him anywhere. Later that evening, she goes home and sitting on her couch is Miguel, her abusive ex-boyfriend. In this new reality, she had never actually left him. And to make matters even worse, she vividly remembered taking care of her sister after a shoulder surgery, but her family had absolutely no memory of it. The surgery literally never happened here. The safe, normal life she vividly remembered living was completely replaced by an alternate history she had never lived.
What's genuinely terrifying here is what happened when Lerina hired a private detective. I mean, she was absolutely desperate for answers at this point. But the investigation just confirms her worst fears. Augustin literally does not exist. The detective searched every birth certificate, every license, every single record. Nothing. However, Lerina's identity in this universe, this bizarro alternate version of her life, was legally flawless. All her documents perfectly matched this new, entirely unwanted reality.
100%. That number is absolutely crucial, because Lerina, completely terrified she was losing her mind, marched straight into a hospital. She demanded brain scans and blood tests from the doctors. And the results? They came back 100%, perfectly normal. Her brain was completely healthy. Her blood was perfectly clean. She was demonstrably sane. So if she wasn't crazy, what does science have to say about this?
Section 4. The Multiverse through the eyes of science.
To find some terrifyingly plausible answers for Lerina's experience, we actually have to pivot away from psychology and look straight toward modern astrophysics and theoretical cosmology. Take cosmic inflation, for example. According to scientists, right after the Big Bang, the universe expanded incredibly fast. Now, this model suggests that this rapid expansion didn't just stop. It created multiple, entirely separate bubble universes. Each of these bubbles could have its own totally unique rules, its own slight variations, and its own histories. This concept essentially grounds her spooky story in a real mathematical model, suggesting that entirely different realities might actually naturally exist side by side.
Then there's brain theory. Basically, this model suggests our universe is a three-dimensional surface, a brain, existing inside a higher dimension. Think of universes stacked up close together, kind of like separate sheets of paper on your desk. They don't normally touch, but theoretically, if those sheets fold, or if microscopic cracks form between them, parallel realities could briefly touch. A tiny fold could absolutely explain how Lerina slipped from one reality to another while simply lying in her bed.
And finally, we've got wormholes. These are mathematical shortcuts in space-time, created when extreme gravity bends and folds the very fabric of reality. Now, I know a real wormhole has never actually been physically proven or observed in the wild, but the crucial thing here is that Albert Einstein's equations do not completely reject the possibility of these space-time shortcuts popping up under rare extreme conditions. The math quite literally allows for reality to fold in on itself.
Section 5. Is a reality true?
So what actually happens when you're forced to live in a universe that just isn't yours? Well, after 2 grueling years of trying to adjust to the wrong universe and desperately sharing her story online searching for answers, Lerina reached her breaking point. She is very tired and just wants to wake up from this dream. That was Lerina Garcia's final internet post. After sharing the daily, grinding struggles of trying to fake her way through a reality she fundamentally didn't belong to, she posted this and just disappeared from the forums entirely. It's a heartbreaking final message, right? It leaves us with this profound sense of total exhaustion from a woman seemingly permanently trapped in an alien world. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this final question to chew on. If Lerina's mind was completely healthy, which the doctors rigorously proved, is the reality you are experiencing right now actually stable? If the problem wasn't in Lerina's head, perhaps the real horror here lies in the incredibly fragile boundary of reality itself. Thank you so much for diving into this endlessly fascinating subject with us today. Stay curious.